So these are the assembly instructions for my football. For the football, I have 6 pieces that look like this, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines for them. So all the horizontal score lines, and then these angled score lines on the sides. And so there are 6 of these, and I'm just going to fold down all the score lines the same way. And I have the same types of shapes, but with these they have the tabs on both sides, and I'm folding down on the score lines for these as well. And then I have these 4 pieces that look like a sunshine rising from the horizon. I'm just folding down on the 4 tabs at the top, and then I'm folding down on the score line that creates a tab at the bottom. And I'm doing that for all 4 of them. So my football can be assembled in 2 halves. I have 2 sets of most of these pieces to create each half. For each half, I have this piece with the tabs on each side, 3 of these pieces with the tabs on only one side. And I have 4 of these pieces, so 2 are for one half and 2 are for the other. So I'm going to start with my piece that has the tabs on both sides, and I'm going to glue one of the pieces that has the tabs only on the right side to it. I'm just putting glue on that top tab and then gluing the top of that piece with my tabs to the right to the score line of that top tab. And then I'm going to put glue on the rest of the tabs and just work my way down those 2 shapes, gluing them together so that the cut line of my piece on the right is right against the score line of my tab. So all the tabs have been glued into the piece on the right. I'm taking another one of those long pieces and just gluing it to the next series of tabs, making sure that the tabs for it are on my right. And then I have my 4th piece, and I'm just going to glue it in the same way. So now that all 4 panels have been glued together, I'm taking one of these tiny pieces and I'm putting glue on all 4 of those small rectangles. And then I'm inserting them at the end of my football, like so. So I'm gluing this piece in so that the score lines of my 4 tabs follow the cut edges of these trapezoid shapes, like so. So I'm rotating to the other end and doing the same thing on the other end. And so then I have my oval frame. I've got pen marks on my oval frame that match up with the tabs. So I've got these tabs along the perimeter. The smallest one along the length of my football is at the top here, and I'm just putting glue all over it. And then I'm taking my oval frame, I have the 2 dots. So I want those 2 dots to be on either side of my tab, like so. I'm going to do that on the one that's directly across too. So it's the smallest tab along the length. It's at the center. I'm placing my frame piece so that the edge of it is just along the score line. 2 little markings are right along the score lines. So then I'm putting glue all along the tabs and just fitting them in the same way, making sure that those little markings are right at the score line. And I'm doing that all along the perimeter of my football. So the second half of my football is assembled the exact same way. So now that I have my 2 sides assembled, I'm going to decorate them. So I have these trapezoid shapes, and I have 4 of them for each end, for each half. So they fit in the center of that 3rd trapezoid shape on both ends. I did a little research. So apparently the stripes are no longer used in the NFL, and they're only used on half of the football, the upper segment or the lower segment, in college ball, and they're used all the way around the perimeter of the ball in the Canadian Football League. So for decorative purposes, I'm going to glue mine all the way around. So this is just 80-pound cardstock that I'm just applying to my ball. So next I have my hinge piece. It's a small rectangle with a score line in the center, and I've just folded it in half. I'm putting glue on half of my hinge from the score line to the end, and then I'm just applying it between those 2 center markings, so in the center of the long side of my ball. And I want the score line to be right along the edge of my ball. Then I'm going to put glue on the second half of my hinge, and I'm positioning the top part of my football And then I'm closing my ball just to make sure that all the sides are even. Then I have 2 frame pieces that I'm just going to glue on top, and not only does that hide the hinge a little bit, but it also makes it a little more sturdy. So I'm just putting glue on the back and gluing them to each half of my opening. And then I have little stitches that go on the top, so I'm just putting glue on the back of it and just apply it as centered as possible. And then I'm just applying these vertical pieces to make the stitches a little bit more dimensional. You can actually apply these pieces before you adhere the longer piece. Doesn't matter really. So next I have this holder for my football, and I'm just using my bone folder to curve it a little bit. And I'm putting glue, so there's a score line. I'm not folding on that score line, I'm just using it for placement of my glue. So I'm putting glue from the score line to the end of my tab. I'm bringing the other end around and just gluing the other end exactly at that score line. So I want both edges to be nice and even. And so that way my football can be held up in place. You can also put a piece of Velcro on your football to keep your box closed.